Today I'll show you a new way to increase your guitar speed using a process I developed from years of competing in powerlifting. And I'll show you how to use it to build more guitar speed more quickly, even if you never touched a barbell in your life. Now, some context. In powerlifting, the goal is to lift the most weight possible. Unfortunately, if you go to the gym and try to just put on more weight on the bar each time you work out, bad things can happen. At the same time, if you don't challenge yourself enough, you're not going to get stronger, you're not going to progress. So what can you do? That's why powerlifters create variations of the basic exercises they compete with that can become more challenging without adding more weight. For example, it can mean lifting a lighter weight but moving the bar faster, or using the same weight you were using last week but just moving the bar slower, which is going to make the exercise harder. There's all kinds of things you can do to challenge yourself without just slapping on more plates on the bar. And you can use the same philosophy to build more speed in your guitar playing. All it takes is just a little bit of creativity to find new ways to challenge yourself without just cranking up the metronome an extra 5 or 10 beats per minute. Because if the only way you know to challenge yourself is to crank the metronome up, that often leads to you playing faster than you can handle either physically or mentally, and that leads to you sounding like Bill and Ted at the end of the movie. So here's one unconventional way I use to build speed both for myself and for guitar players I help inside my rapid fire guitar practice training program. And the prerequisite for using this way is that you must already be able to play the exercise really well at a slow speed. Means being able to play it cleanly with the right fingering, with the right picking, be relaxed, no string noise, etc. You must have the notes down at slow speeds. If you're not sure exactly what I mean when I say how to get the notes down at slow speeds, check out my other video on Guitar Mastery Checklist, where I walk you through the exact points you must check off in your head while you practice something slowly that tell you if you're ready to move on to a higher level of playing or not. So let's say you're working on a scale sequence that sounds like this. And let's say your goal is to get the scale sequence up to 130 beats per minute, but today you can only do it at 100. And the problem is, the moment you increase the metronome tempo past 100, you start making mistakes, your hands get out of sync, your body gets tense, all kinds of sloppy string noise comes up. It's not good. Here's my strategy. You can increase the metronome tempo from 100 to, let's say, 112, but instead of playing the whole scale sequence at 112, which you know is not going to sound good, it's going to fall apart, you're only going to play short fragments at that higher speed. So first, let's play the scale sequence at 100 beats per minute, which we'll assume will be your top speed for this example. So now we'll set the metronome to 112, but we'll only play a short fragment of the scale sequence that's going to sound like this. Just this much of it, with little breaks in between. And that's going to acclimate both your hands and your brain to the new, faster speed. But at the same time, everything should still feel, look, and sound really good, because you're only playing a few notes at a higher tempo. So that's the idea. You challenge yourself by playing at a faster tempo, but you're playing fewer notes to still let yourself keep everything together. And in the brief pauses between the fragments, you can assess if your articulation is good, if your hand synchronization is tight, if the notes are clean, if there's any string noise, if there's anything you need to fix, like excessive tension in your body. On the next repetition, you fix all of that. And you continue repeating the fragment over and over until you're confident that all the points of the mastery checklist are satisfied. And if the fragment you isolate is too difficult to play at the new, faster tempo, instead of changing the tempo to make your playing slower, play fewer notes at that same faster tempo. That is the main idea here. You're playing fewer notes at a faster tempo. So something like this. We just made the fragment shorter, but the tempo stayed the same. And you follow the same process until you're confident that the fragment sounds clean. And when the fragment becomes too easy to play at 112, you're not going to increase the tempo yet. You're going to simply add more notes to the fragment. And that's what's going to allow you to challenge yourself without just cranking up the metronome. So here's an example. And you continue this process the same exact way, adding more notes, one note at a time, two notes at a time, whatever you can handle at the same constant tempo, while making sure that every progressively longer fragment isn't any less clean or any less perfect than the fragment before it. And of course, once you get to playing the whole scale sequence at 112 in this example, you repeat the process. You set the metronome to the next level, to 118, 120, 122, whatever you want, and you start over with a new, shorter fragment, get the fragment sounding good, then you add more notes, one at a time, two at a time, whatever you can handle, until you master that tempo. If you use this approach the way I just described it, it can help you leapfrog to much higher tempos in a much shorter time frame of practice. The reason this happens is because you get to examine literally every single note of a lick under your mental microscope. Normally when we play something from start to finish, what happens is we pay attention to the first few notes and the last few notes of a lick, but the middle notes we kind of don't really pay attention to all the time. And that's how many licks sound okay at the start and at the end, but the middle notes sound pretty sloppy a lot of the time. This approach helps you take care of that problem because you're extending the lick just one or two notes at a time. You get to articulate every note really heavily. You get to examine how your hands are moving, how the note is sounding, if there's any extra string noise, if the hands are in sync or out of sync, if the articulation is a little bit off. You get to pay attention to all of these details you normally would kind of gloss over if you play the whole lick from start to finish. This is just one of many ways to build speed on guitar without relying on the outdated starting slow and gradually building up speed approach, which doesn't work all the time nearly as well as many people tell you that it does. And if you want me to help you more with your practicing, with your technique, with undoing your bad habits, and yes, with building your speed, I can help you with that inside my rapid fire guitar practice training program. In there, I not just go into way more detail about all the stuff I talk about on my channel, but you and I can also sit down, I can listen to you play, watch your technique, tell you exactly what bad habits you have, what you need to change in your playing and in your practicing to finally start moving the needle on your playing. And if you do what I tell you, you can very often feel results that very same day. If you want to check it out, hit the link in the description box below and read all about it. If you like this video, hit the like button, subscribe to this channel, all that good stuff. This is Mike Filipov, guitar practice expert from PracticeGuitarNow.com. I'll see you next time.